Hey, this is Harry with Merchants Plus, back to show you another training video for SpotOn. In this video, we're going to talk about menu items, and I'm going to show you from the beginning to the end how to create an item and attach all the facets you would need for that item. So once you're in the back house, the first thing you're going to do is come to menu items. As you can see, we are empty for this demo, and I'm going to show you just from scratch how to create a new item. So first thing you do, come to the bottom and press new item. Now we're going to have our entire new item screen here. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a name. Today we're going to be making a double cheeseburger. Now this first line is the name that shows up on the button. This is what your servers and bartenders will see on the screen. The second line here is an optional line if you want to change how it gets sent to the kitchen. If, for instance, you notice that when this gets sent to the kitchen, it's too wide for the line that it's on, and it's wrapping down to the second line, and you want to keep it on one line, you can come down here and change it to something like an abbreviated version. Now, this is what we'll print on the kitchen ticket. This also works if, for some of our customers, for instance, the kitchen staff speaks Spanish. So we can come in and put menu items for the front of house in English, and we can come here and put the Spanish versions on the requisition name for the kitchen staff. I'm going to leave it blank, and what that does is it just sends whatever the name line is, it sends that full text to the kitchen. If for some reason you would like it to say something else on the customer receipt, that would be this next line. Outside of that, there's not too much else I do in this sort of top section here. This fourth line can change what shows up on your online ordering if you use that, and if you feel the need to make it say something different on that screen as well. If we move further down, we can look at, we'll talk about open items in another video. I'm going to come down to the report group. This is the first required item. So right now I have no report groups in the system, so I'm going to show you how to make one if you don't have one for this item. So we're going to come down to the house icon on the bottom left. That's going to take us back to our home screen. And we're going to come to report groups. Now when you make the report groups here, the general rule I would follow is making a parent group and then a child group. But generally, if the system has come from us, it's already going to have most of your parent groups already made. So I'm going to start from that beginning. I'm going to create a parent group. And for our parent groups, we always use a parenthesis and full caps. So I'm going to create a food parent group. And this style just indicates to us when we're looking for that this is a parent group and we don't want to use it for standard menu item usage. I'm going to then make a child group within here, and we're going to call this burgers. And I'm going to assign that child group to the food parent group. And what this does is makes it so when we look at our product mix report, we have the options of our parent group showing, so we have less clutter on the screen, and we can expand that parent group to show all the children group under it. It just makes the reporting a lot cleaner and easier to read. Now that we have two screens open, you'll notice that menu items and report groups are still open. These are like tabs you would have in a browser. You can switch between them by clicking on them, or if you want to close the windows, there are two options here. If you come up to the small X in the corner, this will close just the screen you're on, so it would only close this report group screen. If you click the large X down here, that'll close all open windows and take you back to your home screen. For this, I'm going to use the small X to close the screen. And now it defaults us back to our menu items where we were. So now I could drop this down and select burgers. Remember, you never want to, on this menu item, select a parent group. Always use your children groups here. Now if we move further down, some other options we might use here is don't force show modifiers. So if you apply modifiers to this item, by default it automatically pops the modifiers up when you hit the item. But if you don't want it to do that, you can choose do not force show modifiers. And what that'll do is if a bartender or server presses double cheeseburger and they don't need to modify it, they're already done. But if they want to modify it, they would have to select the item and hit modify. If you're using the loyalty system, you want to have can earn reward points and can be discounted with rewards on here. If this is an item you want them to earn reward points on. Some places don't want customers to earn reward points on alcohol or be able to discount their alcohol with reward points. So those items they wouldn't select this option on. Next down here is whether you want this item to print on customer receipts. If for some reason this is a hidden charge you want to put on, or just something you wouldn't want to print on the customer's receipt, you would check this and it wouldn't print there. If you hide it from the search, then your staff can't use the search option to search for this. We do that sometimes for items that are built in the back of house specifically to be sub items and they're not meant to be rang in individually. So that's what those checkboxes will be for. Is alcohol doesn't really matter for most of our customers. I select it if I have alcohol just because it feels right to do, but you don't really generally need it. If we move down to pricing, this is the next required item. So let's say this hamburger is $14. We'll put in $14 there. Pop-up pricing is for open items, and again, we'll go over those in another video. If we move further down, this item is currently marked available. If you want to mark items out of stock from back of house, you can do that here and uncheck available. There's easier ways to mark items out of stock that we'll go over in another video. But quickly to go over that, if you hold down a menu item in front of house, you can 86 it right from the front of house. If you want to add your quantities in back of house, you can do that here as well. Let's say we only have enough meat for 10 of these today. You can do it that way, but this is also something you can do from the front of house by holding down the button and pressing edit item. So it's generally easier to do there as well. The next required item we have here is requisition groups. So we want this is where we're telling it to print. So we want this to print to the kitchen. And generally, if we've installed your system, you're already going to have your options for bar and kitchen, unless you have a special requisition. Let's say you have a pizza printer and a main kitchen printer, and we would have that pizza option here as well for you to choose for your pizzas. Again, here's another place to put your requisition names. The difference between this one is if for some reason you're a multi-site location, which we generally don't set our customers up as, you could change the print option at one location and not affect the other one. But this option up at the top would change it for all your locations. So generally using the top one or this bottom one doesn't matter. So whichever one you want to use, it's generally just easier to find at the top. Same for receipt name. A lot of these options are still at the top, but these are location specific. If we're doing sub items, which I will talk about probably in another video also, and that's what this follow parent item would be. We would just want it to print wherever the parent item prints, so we would select that here. The cost line here is for if you want to track your food cost. Let's say it cost you $6 in supplies to create this. And what that'll do, if you add it up, if you put this in for all of your items, is allow you to start tracking your profit loss or your food cost percentages a little easier, straight from the reporting site. Further down, I would generally avoid any of these settings. They're probably not going to, they're very niche. So if you need them, we would find them. We're going to move further down. If you do have online ordering with us, which I highly suggest everyone tries, you can exclude items directly from online ordering here. Or if you use third-party ordering like the integrated It's a Checkmate or Grubhub stuff, you can uncheck the third-party ordering here. And these next lines are for specific online ordering settings. So if you have this double cheeseburger and you want to have a description on your online ordering, and you want to say something like 2 half-pound Angus patties, cheese choice, you can put that on there, and that's what will show up on your online ordering. Accept item notes would let a customer put in custom notes on an item. So some people like to have that, some people don't. And everything else, I generally leave as default. QSR only affects, obviously, QSR customers, so we generally don't have anything to do here. The next required item would be a tax. So even if you have no tax, we want to put a tax on the item. So I'm going to hit new tax, and I'm going to select sales tax. And if you need to adjust your sales tax, you can come to home, go to taxes, go to sales tax, and right now, by default, I put them in as 100% so that we don't forget to change them because it's very noticeable. But if your tax rate is something like 8.5%, you can come in here and set it at 8.5. And even if your carryout, if you want your carryout to have no tax, you can do that as well. Some states don't require a carryout tax. So we can put our 8.5s in there. I'm just going to do it across the board. We're going to go back to our menu items, and we have our tax in there. Now this checkbox is whether tax is included in the item's price or not. This is, a lot of places use this for alcohol. Let's say you have a $5 drink and you want it to be $5 even and not $5 plus tax. You check this box and the tax comes out of the item's cost. I'm sorry, the item's price. And it does, effectively, you're paying the tax on the item rather than the customer in this manner. And the next thing we would have is if you would like modifiers on the item. This is our modifier section. Now, it defaults to grid, but grid is kind of hard to use. It's generally a little messier. So what I always change to is buttons in grid. And if you ever open up a menu item and the modifier screen looks really crazy to you, you probably have it set to grid, and you just come and change this to buttons in grid. Now I'm going to show you how to add a new modifier group. So we're gonna hit new linkage here, and that's going to give us our first modifier group. We don't have any in the system yet, so when you click this, you're not going to have any to choose from. So let's go show you how to add a modifier group. We're going to go back home. We're going to go to modifier groups and hit it here. And we're going to create a new group, and we're going to call this burger mods. If for some reason you wanted to allow people to get burgers but not modify them on your online ordering, you can exclude modifier groups from online ordering. And you can change what the modifier group title is here for online ordering. So it's very simple to add modifiers in the system. You find this white box that says enter a name here to add modifier, and you just start typing. So we're going to say ketchup. We're going to say mustard. We're going to say onion, pickle, lettuce, tomato, and you just type and hit enter, and you add all your items. So this tomato item I left with a lowercase t so I can show you how to fix if you do a typo in here. One way you can do that is by pressing delete and just adding it properly. What this will do, though, is eventually create a lot of extra modifiers in the system that you're not even using. You'll notice here that I came and corrected it, but since it was the same spelling, it copied the modifier I already created. So I'll show you how to fix that lowercase t in the next section. So we've added some modifiers, and I'm going to add some that may have a cost to them. So let's say fried egg and American cheese. So we want these items to charge when they add them. Well, the first thing we need to do is give the modifier some options. So right now, if I go into my pricing, and I go to American cheese, you'll notice it's relatively empty. So if you ever are coming in and trying to add a price and there's nowhere to add a price, that just means you haven't added any options yet. So generally for modifier lists like this, we want to have options of add, no, light, extra, sub, and on side. So now that we have some options to give so that we can do things like, add onion, no tomato, we're going to hit edit modifiers again. And now when I select this American cheese, you'll notice I have a lot of places to add prices. You don't want to generally add a price on the left side because, as you can see here, this is a multiplier. So if I was to put 1.0 here, this will actually take the price of the burger and add 1 times that amount to the item when they ring American cheese. So our $14 burger would add a $14 slice of American cheese and become a $28 burger. As great as that sounds for you, probably not for your customer. So we're going to set it back to 0, and we're going to instead put it under the price line. So if they want to add American cheese, we're going to charge 50 cents. If they want to add extra American cheese, we're going to charge $1. And if we come down to fried egg, and let's say a fried egg costs $1 to add, and if they wanted 2 fried eggs, then they would choose the extra option. It would be $2 to add. So if you're ever on a screen that has 2 blue boxes on the top, and you're on essentially a sub screen of modifiers here, and we want to go back, we just press modifier groups, and this takes us back. That's it for here. Once we add this to an item, that'll show up in this list down here of related items. So I'm going to go back to my menu items now, and we have a modifier group for our item, for our burger. So I'm going to click this drop down, and I can select burger mods. The rest of this line has options for min max. If, for instance, you are doing salad dressing on a salad, and you want them to pick a choice, you can set a minimum of 1, and that will require 1 choice. You can set a maximum of 1, and that will disallow them from choosing 2. We'll talk about choice list in another video because it's kind of a complicated topic. So look for that video as well, and once I upload it, I'll add a link in this bio of this video. But we can talk about roll-up pricing. If you choose roll-up pricing, what this will do is take that modifier's price and roll it up into the cost of the item. So instead of a customer on their receipt saying double cheeseburger and then on the next line American cheese 50 cents, it would say double cheeseburger is now $14.50, and the American cheese doesn't have a price next to it. I generally use this for stuff like if you have Jack Daniels on the rocks, but you charge $4 to make a drink on the rocks, you can roll up the pricing and add that $4 into the item cost so the customer doesn't see that you just charged them $4 to put ice in the glass. So that's what I generally use roll-up pricing for. And the next 2 items, these are very specific items as well, so I will likely talk about these in another video as well. Lastly, if you want to get rid of this from here, you can click this minus here, and that will delete this line. One thing I want to show you is I'm going to close out my modifier groups and my taxes screen. And if you ever are having a hard time figuring out where to get to your modifier group, like your burger mods, once you scroll down on this menu item and you get to the burger mods, you'll have a little arrow on the left you can click on, and that'll take you straight to your burger mods so that you can edit them. And lastly, we're going to talk about sub items. I will talk about in another video because that is a specific topic as well. But we're going to talk about menu item groups. All items have to be in a group for you to place them out on the screen. So I'm going to go home, and I'm going to go to menu item groups. I'm going to create a new group, and this is just going to be a burger group. And I would like to give all my groups a color, so this will be a blue. And again, you can exclude entire groups from online ordering as well here. So I'm going to go back to my menu items, and I'm going to select the burgers group. What this is going to do is allow us to take that burger group and place it out on a menu screen, which will be another video, and get it out on the screen so that people can select it. Groups are very useful for a few other things, which I'll discuss later as well. The main thing that it helps with on this screen is once you have 400 or 500 items in your system, if you don't want to have to scroll through all of them to find an item, and you know you're looking for a burger, you can use this magnifying glass up here to filter these down to group equals burgers. That's going to only show our burger items. So once this is a more populated system, that saves us a lot of time and effort. I think that's it for this video. There's going to be a lot of subtopics for this that will be in some other videos, and I will try to link everything in the bio of this video. Thanks for watching.